I wanted to be known that when I went to the flat, we happened to hire a private ballistics guy as well. I haven't got the report yet for reasons that, right. We did when he left, I helped him with the investigation there, but there's some items that bothered me. So I went back to the flat and I did a video, a walkthrough of the flat with IOL, with the editor of IOL. And that video was aired where with my knowledge and understanding, I gave a summation of what I think happened. It wasn't long after that was aired. I'm not date specific. I received a call from a member of the police in Dina's office. I will not mention a name. That said to me, pack a bag and disappear because they're coming to kill you. Says, I heard a discussion that you've become a threat to them, which I did. I packed a bag immediately, and I basically, obviously, my whole nervous system went to another mode. I sat down and had a cup of tea. My son came to me and he said, they're coming up the driveway. I grabbed my bag and I jumped over fences. I went to the neighbor's house. So while I was there, my daughter-in-law who lives in my granny cottage, the police went to her. And there was, I think I need to say this policeman's name. Can I say his name? Because he did this, I mean. Well, okay, I won't say his name now. Let me tell the story.
Yes.
And so I fled. While I was at the neighbor's house, my daughter-in-law called me. And she said to me, this policeman he's from organized crime. He wants to speak to me. But she said he had a docket in his hand. And he didn't come alone. I got pictures and a video of how they came. There were a lot of them. There were a lot of vehicles, etc. So he said to her, he wanted to speak to me. I says, no, I don't want to speak to him. Has he got a case against me? Why are they there? So he says, no, he hasn't got a case, but he needs my help to, I can't remember what he says, identify somebody or locate somebody, because I was in another state at the time. So he said, there's no case against me. He just needs to speak to me. So I said to her, tell him I've got nothing to say if there's no cases against me. Then I could hear the conversation. He says, tell him that he can meet me at the police station of his choice and he can bring a lawyer along if he so wishes. So I said to her, if there's no case, I'm not cooperating. I don't want to be serious or speak to them. Then he went on further to say, because I was still appearing for these cases that I was charged for, I can't remember the exact date, but an appearance was coming soon. So he said, okay, it's not a problem. You'll get me at court when I appear. So I managed to get someone to take me somewhere where I went into hiding because I know that I didn't do anything wrong. So when it came to the court appearance, I happened to catch the flu at that time. So I went to a doctor. I was actually under the protection of my pastor. So he took me to the doctor, and I got a certificate, and I submitted it to the court. On the day, the attorney and friends of Bevan's that were at the court called me and said, you know, you are lucky you didn't come here because these guys came in here guns blazing looking for you. So at that, I was away from home for about 18 months, and I didn't hear anything of the case. I approached an attorney who used to be with the DPP, and he's supposed to have followed it up to find out what's happening with the case, and I didn't hear from him. Every time I phoned him, I couldn't get him and go to him. So as time went, there was an ex-policeman that I used to work with. He happens to know the guy. He's a colored guy. He used to live in Wentworth. He approached the guy and he said to him, why are you doing this to him? You know that it's not true, so what has happened? So he says, yes, he was asked to do it by Dina, and they were going to help him with a promotion. So further, I was just fortunate. It sounds far-fetched, but I was fortunate. There's an attorney that was at the Durban court when this policeman walked in to the office of the prosecutor. He's not the SPP, but the prosecutor of, it was Court 9. And they had a discussion. This policeman was discussing the case with him, and he said to him, the prosecutor said to him, you can't arrest him. You need to take a warning statement. But earlier, when this ex-policeman said to him, questioning about what he's doing. He had said to the policeman, tell him to come to my office and take a warning statement. But I didn't trust them. I thought they had an agenda. Having received the phone call from that policeman, saying that they're going to kill me because a discussion was heard to that effect. So I was gone from home for about 18 months. That's the one point. I've never heard from it again. I don't know the case number, but I did establish that it was an intimidation case, whereby after the shooting, I was gathering, and information was coming my way. One of the policemen that were allegedly involved in the shooting is a captain of the Metro Police. I received reliable information that he had booked off on trauma after the shooting. So I discussed the matter with my attorney and I gave him the information. So he said to me, if I can establish the guy's right name, because Captain China sounded like a nickname, and establish which branch he works at, because the Metro has different regions that they work in. So I knew a young man that knew Bevan and myself. So I called him and I said, look, I need help. This is what my attorney has asked me to do. Can you tell me whether this guy's name is Captain China or has he got another name? And if you can say which department he works in, because the attorney needs to correspond with that department. I believe that that was the contents of the intimidation. That youngster opened intimidation. There's count 1, and count 2 was Captain China himself. And I established later that the elements of this was that he felt threatened that I asked that information. And I haven't had anything of that case today. That's the one item. So, and then when Bevan was in hiding, and the same IPA policeman that was handling my daughter-in-law's case, he called me the one evening, and he said to me, Greg, do you know where Bevan is? Which I didn't know. So I said, no, I don't know where he is. So he said, can you establish where he is? Because they've got reliable information that Clive is sending guys to kill Bevan. They believe he's in a hotel in Madlanga. So I went to his wife and I asked her to call him, and I gave him the information. He denied it at first, at that time. So I went and I reported back to this policeman, and he said, look, there's nothing they can actually do because they've got their team together, but every scenario that they look at, if they approach, it would result in one of their deaths, so they can't intervene. Later, when I spoke to Bevan, he said to me, yes, he was at the hotel. He didn't say the name of the hotel, but he said when I phoned him and told him that, he left the place. That's number 2, which I think is important. So what I'm saying that is because it would show from the information that there was an intention by Clive to kill him, because the policeman said so, and I believe it's from a source that can't be revealed for identity purposes. Yeah. So that's the second one. The third one I want to say is, earlier I spoke on Captain Varley. I'm saying his name because I already mentioned his name. I'm going to raise this again, or I'm going to mention it again, which to me was important because when these guys came with the Belair cases, they never mentioned it again after that. They pursued the case of attempted murder, which they say happened at the Bluff meet. Captain Varley was, I'm not sure if I said it earlier, Captain Varley was the duty officer. So when a shooting happens, he has to go to the scene and write a report. I believe that report was written in the office under direction of Captain Dina Governor, because he didn't attend the scene, because there was no scene to attend. Then they pursued this youngster based on that attempted murder, because when we were even at the court, they kept saying it to myself and the attorney, the attempted murder he's wanted for, which did not happen. So basically they pursued him on that. And then when he was killed, they charged him for that group for 11 cases after he was killed. And the amazing thing is that on the 1st of April they were killed, somebody charged them on the police system. So they were charged for 11 cases after they were dead. So I find it's important because if they had to make a case, create a case, that tells me they didn't have anything on him to arrest him. So I think they didn't want to lose face with Clive that had paid them. So the way I understood it was they had to get him at any cost, then they could do with him what they wanted. I thought I just needed to raise that. Last item. One of the guy that used to drive for Bevan, I didn't mention his name earlier, but I won't mention it now. He attended an accident scene not too long ago, and he called me out of his own, and he said, you know, I got to tell you this. I did mention Captain Bevan's name before because he was part of the team. He's the guy that mentioned to someone previously that this shooting didn't happen because he was with them at the Blue Lagoon when a phone call came through and it's saying Bevan's driving around the bluff. And they rushed through. And thereafter, the shooting incident was created. But at that time, Bevan was at home and the driver, Mr. Eckhart, he had been the driver. And we got video footage of the butchery where Eckhart is going in and out, yes? And they would say, maybe Bevan stayed in the vehicle. But I'm saying that the hard drive was taken because we could have proven that Bevan was at home at the time. In my opinion, they had no reason to remove that hard drive because it wouldn't help any case of theirs. I think it was to hide the evidence that they were acting incorrectly or against the law. So on another occasion, the same Captain Bevan, this guy phoned me, the driver, and he says to me, Captain Bevan met him at the scene. And Captain Bevan, they would discuss the matter, and Captain Bevan said to him for the second time to a second person, that he was present and there was no shooting that took place. They created that whole crime. So to me, that is key for them pursuing him on that matter. On the same scene, the same driver of the vehicle said there was a policeman of the local station attending, which happened to be Wentworth. Before the time of his death, I think from between January and the time he died, there had been a shooting incident in Wentworth where people drove past in vehicles. It was on social media, and they were shooting at the flat area in what they call the F section area. That was where one of the cartel leaders, who is now deceased, had lived and he was operating. The policeman related to the driver that on the day he was working, there's a picture on social media where one of the police vans had holes in the windscreen where they were shot at by these guys. He said, Dina approached him and said to him that he must say that he saw Bevan shooting him. Now my question was, why I think it is important, if you have solid cases to arrest Bevan, why do you want to create another false case? And I'll leave it there. I thought that had to be known. So that will add to why I say that they were hunting him.
Any questions on what Mr. Loftus has just said, Mr. Skakana?
No comment.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Loftus.
Thank you.
You are excused. Thank you.
Thank you.